Does your partner want out? Talking about what not to do. This is the Joyfully Married After podcast, episode 52.
So today we're discussing 5 things not to do when your partner wants out of the relationship.
Yeah, a little bit of a more serious conversation today.
I think we're usually pretty serious.
Yeah, no, we're always serious, but just serious subject matter.
Yeah, I had to really go into some thought about this one.
Yeah.
Because this is a tough one. This does happen.
Sure.
And I don't think we should talk about being joyfully married after all the time when we know there are people out here that are going through this, that have gone through this. And there are actually things you should not do when this is happening in your marriage.
Yeah, especially if your goal is to be joyfully married after, even when you have these serious bumps in the road and these situations that will arise in your relationship. You want to have some strategy, have some actionable strategy around what can I do if my partner wants to leave or is indicating that they want to call it quits or what have you. So it's important subject matter.
Yeah, I think it's important to discuss, and we're not going to pretend that we've never been here because we've been here.
Sure.
And I think what resonated was that we have been here.
Right.
And that this is right. This is what we're going to talk about today are 5 things that you should not do if your partner has asked you to end the relationship.
And this will probably be a bit of a longer podcast because these 5 subjects that we're going to discuss, we're going to really drill down into each one of those. And so just for our listeners' understanding, it will be a bit of a longer podcast than we normally do.
Yeah. And we're still going to have our question of the week.
Question of the week, yeah.
Is it appropriate for a married man to be part of a private group chat with other men talking about porno? Oh my gosh. Is this a new hobby?
We'll get into it.
Is that a new hobby?
Not of mine.
I hope not. And then doing it well.
Yep. Doing it well is always a top subject matter for us. So
is it hump day yet?
Want to get into that. So that'll be for the adult portion of the show.
This entire show is adult. Let's just keep that in mind. If you have kids, you want to put it on your headphones or something like that.
Yeah.
You don't really want to have them talking about this. Let them be kids.
I agree, baby.
Let them be kids. So what's one of the first things you don't want to do if your partner wants out of the relationship? Most people are caught off guard. And some people kind of knew it was coming. Right. But didn't know what to do. In the meantime, let's stay away from doing these things. Number 1.
Don't panic.
Don't panic.
That's the worst thing you can do.
Why not?
It's very destructive. It's commonplace. And it's an understandable reaction, of course, right? If somebody says to you, I don't want to be with you anymore, I don't want to be married anymore, certainly you can see how you would just start freaking out and just kind of go berserk. But what you have to understand is that you have to be calm in these kinds of situations, kind of be even keel. Don't panic. And because what you'll find is that it's just really unhelpful for the whole situation. Yeah,
it's very primitive reaction. Fight or flight. We're going to do one of those 2 things, which is part of panicking. It's not helpful.
Right. Yeah. And at least arguing, right? You're going to be fussing, fighting, arguing, and that's really just going to exacerbate everything that's already going on. So you want to stay away from this in general. Yeah.
And when we say flight, it's not just physically leaving, getting on an airplane. It's detaching.
Right.
It's an emotional detachment. It's doing more drugs, doing more alcohol, in anything. It's really just or actually moving out. You don't want to do that. And that's instinctive also. So keep in mind it is instinctive, but we mean emotionally, physically moving out. Don't do that. Don't fly.
Yeah. Because it's very normal for you to want to fight or want to go into a flight mode, detached from the scenario. But really what you need to do is just take a deep breath, right? Take a step back, assess the situation, and really move into reason, being more even-tempered.
Reason.
Use some even thoughts in how you're approaching things and then go from there and let that be your guide.
Yeah, I think at this point, the first thing you do is imagine this is the end.
Mm-hmm.
This is the end of our relationship.
Yeah.
But I've heard stories,
Mm-hmm.
and there's stories upon stories of
Sure.
people who have gotten actually to this point of having a happy and joyful relationship and fulfilling. So you don't want to think first, oh, this is the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's not where you want to go first.
Right. Yeah, that was actually something that we experienced, right?
Yeah.
And so my first thought was, hey, I don't want my relationship to end. I don't want to go to a divorce
Me too.
situation.
Me
I
too.
don't. This is not what I want. So how do I begin to deal with this in a productive, positive way, even though this is a very negative situation?
Yeah, we had to stop,
Mm-hmm.
and we had to take time and think about, okay, well, what's going on here?
Right.
And then actually we use it as an opportunity to like rebirth our relationship.
Yeah.
You say, baby?
Yeah, we really did.
Yeah.
We really
Yeah.
did. Yeah, I agree with you, baby.
And the one thing you're learning is
Mm-hmm.
if your partner comes to you and then they want out of the relationship, is you're learning that something has to change.
Right.
You're learning that whatever is going on now, wherever we are now, has to change.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be good.
Yeah.
Consider it your wake-up call.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do the same thing over and over again, as we know, that's probably not going to work if you're expecting a different result. So obviously you got to that situation, and using the same behavior, the same methodology is not going to help you. So you got to begin to review what you're doing and how you can improve it.
Yeah. So number one, guys, don't panic. Number two,
don't run to the divorce lawyer.
no. Don't start proceedings yet. Give yourself a minute. Just hold on a second.
Yeah.
Divorce lawyers, keep that in mind. They divorce people, right?
That's how they get paid.
You know, I get some people want to go and find out, what do I need to do to protect myself, or what should I do or what shouldn't I do to protect certain things.
Yeah, exploratory conversations. Understanding a little more deeply,
having a better understanding, but don't start anything.
I'm getting divorced.
Type up the papers.
Right. That's not what you want in this kind of scenario.
Because what happens once you start?
Once you start, you're locked in.
It's a rolling ball downhill.
Divorce attorneys are very good at what they do, and you have a certain mindset going on, and you start that ball rolling, and the next thing you know, you all in, and you may not even want to be there.
And then from that point on, it's not we trying to work out our marriage. It's Turner versus Turner.
Mm-hmm. Me versus you.
That's all it is going forward. And that's all you're doing when you file papers is you're starting it. You're starting. It's a catalyst for me versus you.
Right. So that creates animosity. Once the process starts, right, it's very natural for you to want to push apart from that person, right? I'm distancing myself from you. I'm in the throes of divorce proceedings, so
it's natural. You're just not going to be. You're going to be like this.
You get the Heisman.
You're getting the Heisman. So the only reason people start the process, Heath, is to get an upper hand, y'all.
Yeah. It becomes about the things. It becomes about what you're going to divide, what you're going to split. What am I going to get? What are you going to get? And the whole thing, it just creates the animosity and the venom within the relationship.
And it makes them feel better. They feel like they got one up on you and all of that. But you know what? Once you start that process, you can't stop it.
Yeah, now you got your chest out, your pride's all in the way. And that's not going to help you when you're trying to foster some kind of reconciliation.
Try to get back together. And the other thing, many people won't tell you. They tell you about how many people get divorced, but they don't tell you how many people start this process and end up recommitting.
Yeah.
You know? So many marriages have been through this and have gotten back together.
Right.
So it's important to realize that this is not the end. So don't start it just to get a one up.
Separations can end up in recommitment.
And if it doesn't happen, you can always go and file later.
That's very true. So I think the point there is to take a breath. Don't start with all the divorce proceedings and creating all the animosity and the separation of your relationship. That you have to give it time, give yourself time to process what's happening. You're processing emotion. There's a lot of stuff going on. So just running to a divorce lawyer is not the answer.
Right. Hold off on actually filing papers for as long as possible.
What's the next subject, baby?
So the third one is don't tell everyone. As a matter of fact, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. When you start, you're already hurt, and it's natural to want to pull people into your hurt, right? It's a pity party. This person did this to me. This person did that to me. This person is not on the same page, and so that can be really destructive. So that's not really what you want to do.
Your friends and your family, they don't want to see someone hurting you.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen? They're all going to be on your side,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all going to look at your partner with negative eyes. They're not going to look at them well. So you don't want to bring them into something that's not complete yet.
Because if you do tell everybody, what's going to happen is that the perceptions are going to change of you, of that person, and now it's a whole different scenario.
Right. The second reason is if you both decide to reconcile,
now you got a problem.
You got a problem.
You got the family and the friends.
Yep.
The word is out. Everybody knows. Then there's a whole wave of doubt that's going to be surrounding your relationship as opposed to that love and support that you may have today or may have had in the past, right?
And people have a natural tendency to pull apart if there are people around them actually pulling them apart.
Right. Because people know, hey, if this person did this to you, this person did that to you, they're not going to be very amicable about how they feel about that person.
And then you don't know what they said, you don't know what they did. So then there's that's collateral damage if you all decide to get back together.
Right.
So this person's on the out now with your partner because they knew what was going on, they got involved, they had, animosity toward your partner, they said some things they shouldn't have said. Now your partner and your friend or your family are on the outs, and that's considered collateral damage. Whereas if they didn't know and they weren't involved, it wouldn't be anything.
Right.
It wouldn't be anything.
So really what you want to do, if you have to confide in someone, you feel like you really need to engage your priest, your minister, maybe one super good friend that has the ability to kind of keep things close to the vest and not spread your business all over the place. Whomever you have access to, if your personality is the type where you just have to have someone engaged, then that would be the advice, is just to keep it with one person.
Yeah, and once again, if it doesn't turn around, you can tell people later. It's all about holding off for as long as you can. Mm-hmm. The fourth thing is don't manipulate or throw blame or guilt on them. This is a big one because if you search the internet and you search the blogs, a lot of them are going to give you ways to manipulate your partner to get your partner back and things you need to do to manipulate to get your partner back.
Yep.
And it's probably going to be the toughest because you go into thinking mode when things like this happen. I got to do. And it's natural, right, to try to convince them to change verbally. Yeah. What do I need to do? And then this is going to backfire. It's just going to backfire. It's going to make them remember why they don't want to be with you.
Yeah, you're lashing out. You're having all these conversations. You're trying to convince them. And more often than not, that's not really going to play out well. So what happens is the more you argue, the more you firm up their beliefs that,
they need to leave.
I need to be out.
Yeah.
So that's not really the time to point out, you always doing this and you always doing that, right? It's not time to point the fingers and identify faults of the other person, their shortcomings, their failings, all of those kinds of things. Again, you want to relax, be even-tempered about things. And this is really the time. This is the time to say, I don't want to end the relationship.
I don't want to end the relationship. And I want to make something work.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about what we both want right now.
Yeah, and start from that place, because that's not the time to figure out how to solve all of the old stuff. That's the time to say, okay, look, this is where we are. We're not in a great place, but let's talk about what it looks like to reconcile. Let's talk about what it looks like. Hey, we're just starting from the beginning of this new place we're in.
And what you have to keep in mind, guys, is yes, you're getting ready to have this talk. Yes, you're getting ready to confess to them, like, look, I don't want this to end. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose my family. This is not the talk. This is not going to change everything. This is only the beginning.
Yep.
This is just the start of the new foundation, and it'll allow you to move forward, hopefully, to a resolution.
Yeah. Which brings us to the next topic, with the
yeah.
next part of this, which is,
I think this is the last one.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is
We're only gonna give you
the
5.
last point of this.
Yeah.
So don't try to completely change yourself and become what you think that they want, right?
Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. No,
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah, because now you're looking weak. You're looking different from your normal scenario, how you usually approach things.
You're losing their respect.
And so you looking all pitiful and that kind of thing. That's not going to fix what you're trying to accomplish.
Remember, it's not you.
Right.
It's the relationship.
Yeah, the issue is what's going on in the relationship, not necessarily you or them or what's happening with you or them. It's the relationship between the two of you.
Right. Trying to change is not being true to yourself.
Yeah. You want to stay true to yourself, continue to be the person that you are, but just look to identify how can we improve this relationship.
And then think about it. If you changed everything about yourself and you saved your relationship, how are you going to feel now?
Right. Because now you can't be authentic.
Yeah. So those are the things we wanted to tell you. Please keep in mind, it's not the end. Next week, we're going to talk about what to do if your partner asks you. These are what not to do. Don't panic. Don't change. Don't manipulate. Right?
Yep. Very key.
And talk.
There you go.
Thank you. That if you have any questions for us, you can reach out to us at heathandtracy.com for all the goings on in our world.
There you go.
Okay. More advice and reminders and videos, events coming up, fun stuff, and we'll have a weekly newsletter going out. Question of the week. Okay. I get to read it this time, babe?
Go ahead.
Hello. I'd like to ask this question anonymously. Is it appropriate for a married man to be part of a private group chat with other men that share nothing but very pornographic and explicit videos and pictures of women? The first time I found it on his phone, I made it very clear that I felt it was inappropriate for him to be a part of it. He said he understood and deleted it from his group. But here we are again. The excuse I was told is that he was going to show me and that this is simply something that quote unquote men do. Is this something that men do? Or is this something that certain type of men do? Mind you, these are only the types of group chats that he's been in. He isn't part of anything else that is of substance, enriching, or empowering.
Yeah, the first thing I'll say about pornography is that it's a very addictive scenario that puts a lot of people in harm's way. And so sometimes you may look at it as, oh, it's not a big deal, and it's just pictures, or it's just video. I'm not messing with anybody. I'm not touching it with anybody, and those kinds of things. But what happens is it opens the door for all of these kinds of thoughts or things, right? And so you just have to be really cognizant about what you allow into your ear gate, into your eye gate. And so my advice
to answer her question, is this something that men do, or is this something that certain men do?
Unfortunately, it's an epidemic with men. That's the first thing. But I think that men who have not gone down this road, or men who've been delivered from this road, will tell you that the best thing to do is to just not go there, not to be engaged with pornographic material, not to have things like that in your phone. It makes me uncomfortable sometimes, just as I'm scrolling through, social media, and I might see a picture or two of somebody that somebody posted, right, a scantily clad woman or whatever. It's like, I don't know who this is, and why is this all in your story or wherever it is. It's
right,
like,
but what should she do as a wife? You know what I'm saying? What can she do?
Yeah, you have to have the conversation, I think, first and foremost, right? It's if she's extremely uncomfortable, as she should be, then you need to voice it with the voice of reason. Have the conversation with the husband to say, honey, this makes me very uncomfortable. I've read nothing but bad things about what can happen,
what it leads to,
as it relates to these things, and so Addictive behavior is addictive behavior, and it never ends well.
Yeah, it's not a certain type of man. I don't think that's how you should look at it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it is it's a problem in our society, just like a lot of things in our society. Over excess is right now, and it sounds like it's his outlet.
Yep.
It sounds like he may need another type of outlet. And that might be something you can help suggest to him. If he were busier, if he had different outlets, maybe he would think about this differently. The other thing I do suggest is counseling. I do suggest he see someone by himself.
Yeah.
And that maybe you see someone separately. And I say this to the wife, because if your husband is always seeking out pornographic releases, then it affects you. It affects you, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your marriage, how you feel about him. So you're going to need to talk to someone, and then he's going to need help working through why he feels like he needs to do this. And he's going to have to work through having a support system to get him to a point where he doesn't need to do this anymore.
Yeah, the other thing is that he may not realize that it's affecting him, even though it's visual, it's affecting him physically. Right? And so now it's affecting how he engages with his environment, with people he comes into contact with you. And so there's a lot of ancillary things that occur because of this kind of thing.
Yeah, I know people whose husbands are heavily into porn, and they have functional problems. They have physically functional problems. They are unable to perform.
Yep.
And that is a stress on him, so he goes right back to it, thinking that is the only way. So it is an issue that needs to be addressed, not only because it affects you physically and emotionally and mentally, so it needs to be addressed through therapy. It is not something to take lightly. It is not something that just men just do. Yeah, and same thing for women. More women out here seeking out pornography, and once you go there, it makes it very difficult to walk it back, so you will need help.
Yeah, so have the conversation, get the help, go from there.
So, doing it well.
Doing it, and doing it well. Ooh. Doing it, and doing it well. All right. Doing it well.
Is it hump day yet?
Hump day! Mike.
Oh my gosh. So, the question is it time to put sex on the schedule? As busy as we all tend to be these days, prioritizing sex may mean you need to add it to the calendar.
Yep.
You might have to get a reminder.
Sure.
It doesn't seem sexy, but we designate time for everything else.
Sure do.
Why not sex?
Right.
Now, just don't let it be another boring entry in your, G calendar or your Outlook. Get creative.
Yeah.
Don't just set the time, set the place.
Right.
Set the room.
Okay.
Set the outfits. Set the position.
Got to try a new position. Hey.
So make hump day hump day.
There you go. I like it, baby. I like it. I mean, I think that that's a great point that you bring around busy lives. People moving around, people changing. You got work stresses, life stresses, lots of things happening. Things are happening with your body. All kinds of things that play into the productivity or the frequency of your sex life. And so if you have to start with this, then by all means, do it. Start with putting it on the schedule, right? Somebody said that if you want to determine somebody's priority, look at their calendar.
Look at that calendar. What's on your calendar? You schedule everything else. The kids probably have more on your calendar than you do. You can get that in there.
And newsflash, the kids are not more important than the marriage.
Absolutely not.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Okay, Heath. Thanks for listening today, guys. Join us next week. We're going to talk about what to do if your partner asks you to end the relationship.
And remember, stay connected. Stay connected to God, stay connected to your family, and stay connected to your spouse.
Or your significant other.
Peace.